Hey guys, Matt here. I just wanted to make a quick little video as a kind of catch up. It's been now a whole year since I've started this channel. Actually, I created this channel on the 28th of April 2020. However, my first video, episode 1 of Final Fantasy VII Remake, was actually May 10th. So you can kind of think of this as kind of like the first anniversary week, right? Or almost 2 weeks, but right, this is kind of the period right now where it's, it's been a year since I started the channel, and it's almost been a year since I released my first video. And so I thought this is a really good opportunity to actually kind of have a look at the channel, have a look at what I've done so far, and have a look at what my plans are for the future. So as I it's difficult to really, tell everyone, what my actual plans are for the channel rather than, I've just been kind of showing people what my plans are. So I figured with this video it'd be kind of nice to have a kind of roadmap, right? You can kind of see exactly what my plans are for this channel and what I kind of aim to accomplish with this channel. So first up, oh my god, 6,690 subscribers. Thank you very much, everyone. I only just made a 5,000 subscriber yay video, so that was very fast. Thank you. Wow, that's very, very surprising. Thank you very much. I'm so glad you guys have been enjoying the N4 videos so far. It was a huge project. It really was crazy. I've had a couple of people ask me how many hours did I put in on the video, and I honestly can't tell you. I don't know. All I can tell you is that since the Final Fantasy VIII episode, I have been working all day, every day. I spent a couple of weeks just collecting footage all day, every day. And then after that, it was all day, every day, writing the script, recording the script, editing the video. Many 12, 14-hour days. You do the math, but it was over a month. So it was a huge video. So I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying it. I'm so glad everyone's liking the video, and that and I'm really glad that I can kind of show you guys that it's not just the N5. My plan is to actually cover all of Japanese through this channel. So if we kind of have a look at where I started, right? I started this channel with Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? That's what really gave birth to the idea of this channel for me, right? As I was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was just about up to the point where you get on the rooftops with Erik, and I was just thinking, like, I have to make this idea. It just kept on popping into my head, like, Matt, that would be really cool. Hey, Matt, that would be really cool. And it kept on popping into my head, and I was just like, okay, let's do it. And so I just went crazy. I did all the design work in a short period of time. I just went crazy. I was obsessed by it, and then I released the first episode, which, as we saw, started the channel. It was a little bit shaky start, but I'm happy with it for a first video. Right now it's a little bit cringe to watch, but I'm happy with it. But then after that, it was kind of like, okay, I'm trying to do everything with the Final Fantasy VII video, right? If you have a look, I went from, learning vocab, but also going through grammar, and I even had quizzes and review, and it was kind of getting a little bit too much, not just for me to make, but for the viewer as well. It was getting a little bit too much information. It wasn't organized enough. It wasn't structured well enough. I had a clear structure in the beginning where I wanted to do this kind of immersion, breakdown, and then kind of a review, right? So you immerse in the material, try your best, then I break it down for you, go through everything, and then you review, see what you've learned, see what you've remembered. That was my initial plan, and it worked, but as I started to make things more complicated, it kind of, it was quite difficult to make under an hour, and I wanted to actually cover more of the game. And so eventually that's why I've started to progress to this more one chapter in one video, like you saw with my 7-hour long video, where I cover the entire chapter in one video. And so that's kind of why I've gone in that direction, because I figured, I also saw the views kind of go down and down for each episode, and I was just like, I'm putting a lot of effort into this to not really get too many people watching it. Even if the people who do watch it love it, it's kind of like, how can I make it better for everyone, right? And so that's why I decided to do the whole chapter type video, and that hasn't gone too bad as well. Also with grammar, because I didn't just want to do Final Fantasy VII. That wasn't the only thing I wanted to do. So when I was thinking about how do I cover grammar, then I started kind of looking at the grammar series, right? And so I thought, well, hey, let's just do one grammar point and let's just try and explain it with all these different examples from video games. And so that's what I did for a couple of grammar points. I kind of chose them randomly. I didn't really, it was actually based on the grammar that we were covering in Final Fantasy VII at the time. And so that's why it may have appeared a little bit random, like why is he suddenly covering N3 when he's not starting from N5, right? And I saw a few comments on Reddit about that being kind of strange. But that was the reason why I was just kind of getting it from Final Fantasy VII. But anyway, as I was making those videos, I loved those videos. It was so much fun, so creative, so exciting and fun, and the adventure and the graphics, and I just really enjoyed, and the music, I really, really enjoyed those grammar videos. But I noticed that it was a little bit too limited, right? Just one point. So if you look at that video and you go, well, I know that point, then no one watches it. Or if you feel like I pretty much know that point, maybe you might not even be, enticed to watch it. And so it was really only for people who kind of had no idea about it, right? And that is really limited in scope. And so that's where I came up with the idea of, well, how about, call me crazy, but how about if I do one of those videos where I do the entire grammar in one video? And so that's what happened, right? I started with the N5 and collected all of the grammar. And I was actually surprisingly able to do it quite quickly, the N5. I did it in 2 weeks, and that was crazy. I worked really hard. I remember actually feeling physically sick from overworking. But 2 weeks is what I got the N5 video in. So I thought, hey, N4, another 2 weeks. No. It was more like 6 weeks. But I did also kind of increase the quality of the video. I also did a lot. I actually covered a lot more of the dialogue in the immersion scenes, not just one line, but actually a little bit of setup, so you can actually kind of get kind of immersed a little bit in the scene as well, so you get a little bit of backstory. And I also did many more examples per grammar point, so it was actually pretty crazy. But anyway, that's how I've kind of come to where I am, right? And, I've tried these other little interesting ideas here and there, like the Cyberpunk videos and the Donkey Kong videos and the Metal Gear Solid videos and things like that. And some of those I still intend to continue, like the Metal Gear Solid one. I am actually slowly still working on it. I actually have the whole video finished. It's like 6-7 hours, the whole video, the whole game. But I just have to write down all the Japanese and translate it all. And it's just a monster job in itself. So I've just been slowly working through it there and there, and I've just finished disc 1, working into the the furnace and things. So that is definitely coming up in the future, but it's a very difficult thing to spend my main focus on. But that is definitely still coming. So anyway, if we look at the plans for the future of this channel, what I aim to accomplish, what I aim to cover, what I aim to do. So my goal for this channel is I want to make this a platform for anyone to learn Japanese through the medium of video games, right? So it is intended for people who love video games or are passionate about video games, and you kind of have this nostalgia as you go through all these video games that you love and enjoy. You immerse yourself in the scenes and the music, but I also want to make it useful for people who don't have any interest in video games, right? So also for people who just want to learn Japanese, because there's a lot of people who maybe, aren't into video games, but they still want to learn Japanese, and so I want to make that also useful for them as well. Which hopefully I've been able to do with the grammar series. I think I've been able to do that. So my goal for the channel is a 3-pronged attack. What I'm going to be doing this year and into the future is I'm going to be focusing on my vocabulary series, and that is how we have, we've already done 2 episodes, a different game every episode, voted by you, and we cover a section of the game, we work through it, we learn all of the language in that section of the game, we break down all the sentences just like the Final Fantasy VII series, but the focus being on vocab, right? So we're really trying to get as much vocabulary as we can, and actually we want to slowly collect all of the JLPT. For grammar, as you may have noticed, I intend to cover the entire JLPT grammar through these enormous full JLPT style videos where we cover every single grammar point in one single video. Now, my explanations they're pretty detailed, but they could sometimes go a little bit more. But trying to save having a 24-hour video, I've tried to keep it as concise as possible. So my intentions are to do the whole JLPT with these huge videos, and then for more difficult grammar points that people may have trouble with, right, after having covered them all in a kind of concise way, then I'll actually make more detailed videos on certain grammar points that people may have problems with. Like, for example, like I did with the wa versus ga video, but also for other things, like, you know, verb conjugation and keigo, for example. There's lots of things that people might want a more focused video on, and so I'll be doing that in the future as well as looking into, for example, things like Kansai Ben, making series on that as well. So there's lots of grammar videos to come, so that's definitely what I'll be doing for that. Next, and lastly, actually, we'll be looking at kanji. So I am actually intending on making a kanji series, and the way I'm going to go about it is a little bit different from how I've seen it done anywhere else. So, kanji by themselves don't actually have a set word that is the meaning of that kanji. Kanji are a little bit more like concepts, right? You have this concept of something, and it often gets taught as the meaning, but it's more like a concept. And this can actually help people if you look at it like a concept rather than the actual strict definition, because sometimes kanji have lots of these strict definitions, and you'll soon learn that it's actually not this very strict definition of what the kanji means. So in Japanese, kanji don't actually have this kanji equals this word, right? It's more like a concept, right? And you actually have readings that go along with it. For example, the kanji ki in buki or shokki, right? This ki, you might learn in English, means a certain word, like utensil, tool, or something like that. But in Japanese, it actually is more like a concept. It holds the meaning of that word, but it doesn't mean that word by itself, right? So like, for example, utsuwa, right, for container. Utsuwa, just that sound by itself, that means container, right? The kanji for utsuwa is this ki kanji, right? But the kanji by itself doesn't mean container, right? It actually has lots of different meanings. It could be a device, an instrument, a vessel, it could be an ability, it could be lots of different things. And so what I'm thinking of doing to actually approach this, rather than learn this means this word, like for example, you may learn in the Heisig books where you kind of just memorize that this kanji means this one word, which often gives you a very incomplete picture of how the kanji is actually used, and it doesn't really even help you learn how to use the kanji whatsoever, or the context in which it's used. Instead, what I'm going to be doing for the kanji series is I'm actually more going to be focusing on that concept first, and actually looking at the context in which it's used to then develop this image in your mind of what it means. Then having a look at what the definition in the English version is, for example. So if we have a look at this kanji, right, that's utsuwa or ki, right? The way it's used, you obviously have utsuwa, which is a container, a bowl, or some sort of ability or vessel, right? So it's kind of like something in which you put something in, right? A vessel or a container, right? But the ki, let's have a look at some examples of how it's used with vocabulary. For example, we have buki, right? This buki is usually talking about some sort of weapon or armament. It's some sort of if you play a Final Fantasy game, for example, you'll have your weapon that is buki, right? And it uses the first two kanji. The first kanji has a kind of concept of military, and the second one here is this ki, right? So it's military something, right? And then, for example, we have gakki, right? And this kanji is meaning musical instrument. So the first kanji here has the kind of concept of music, and then the second one is this ki, okay? So we have a military ki and a sound ki, weapons or armament, and a musical instrument. And lastly, for example, we have shokki, right? And this means tableware, right? And the first kanji has this kind of concept of eating or dining, and then the next one here is this ki. So we have tableware, weapons, and a musical instrument. Now, what do you think all of these things have in common, right? If we have a look, we have a military tool or instrument, we have a musical tool or instrument, and then we have a kind of tool or instrument or utensil that goes with foods, right? So your utensils are your shoki, right? So you can see that this ki is actually used to mean kind of like a tool, right? A military tool, a musical tool, or a tool for eating. But by itself, it does not mean tool, right? By itself, it actually means utsuwa, which means your container or something, right? As I said before, with your ability. So if we have a look at these kind of different concepts, rather than learn the kanji as this kanji equals this and a whole bunch of other unrelated things, if we learn through context, through different examples, then we can actually kind of get more of a feel for how that kanji is used and develop a closer relationship to that kanji and a closer understanding. I figured that might be a fun way to kind of look at kanji and be able to not only learn some vocabulary along the way, but also become more familiar with the kanji. And so that's how I'm planning on actually approaching the kanji with my kanji series, as I'm actually going to go through all of the kanji in the JLPT as well through video games. So please look forward to that as I continue to develop exactly how I'm going to go through it and exactly how much detail I'm going to be going through it. But it's going to be very similar to the grammar series, where we cover all of the grammar in one video. I'll be doing the same for covering all of the kanji. Now, I haven't decided yet whether to limit it to a set amount of kanji, whether I do 10 kanji per video, 100 kanji per video, or the whole JLPT. I'm thinking maybe I'll try for the kanji to do more something like 10 per video, and then I can actually release them more regularly, and then later I can compile them into one ridiculously sized video. But we'll see. Anyway, so that's my main plan for the future of this channel. I'm going to be covering vocabulary, grammar, and kanji through video games, and it's going to be very comprehensive with the whole JLPT. Now, as we do this, obviously, we're going to be learning lots of other language from, outside of the JLPT. And if you actually have a look at some of the spreadsheets that I have with the data, about half of all the words you learn aren't actually in the JLPT, even if they're really commonly used words. So you can see that the JLPT isn't necessarily everything, but it's a nice goal for you to kind of work towards. So whether or not you're studying for the JLPT or not, these series should still be useful for you, because you'll be learning not only the JLPT, but you'll also be getting some extra language as well here and there. So that's my very focused series that I'm going to be looking at, where I really am looking at the grammar, the kanji, and the vocabulary. But I'll also still be continuing the Final Fantasy VII series, so I'll still be working towards completing that game, and I'll also have some projects here and there where I work on other things, like for example more personal videos. I'll also be continuing the Metal Gear Solid video. I'll also be occasionally doing things like game trailers, covering that for fun, like I did before, and I'm even thinking of maybe trying later, sometime in the future when coronavirus is over, to actually do maybe some outside videos, as I actually live in Kyoto, and it's a really good opportunity for me to go out and maybe share some of the great things about living in Japan with everyone, like all the nice places in Kyoto. But I'm going to add a little bit of a language learning twist on it. I'm thinking maybe of having a kind of an explanation, a Japanese explanation of the place that we show you in the video, and then I actually break down that explanation. So not only do you get to learn about Kyoto with the explanation, but I also teach you the actual language that's being used in the explanation of the place that I visit, for example. So that might be a fun way of kind of sharing some of Japanese culture, but also learning Japanese language at the same time. And while it's not necessarily connected to games, hopefully you guys can forgive me such a kind of broad and diversify the content in which I have on this channel. But anyway, so sorry again for the long video. I'm really incapable of making a short video. I really do apologize. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone for all of your support. Seriously, it's been amazing. Really, really, really amazing. It's been life-changing, actually, to kind of know that, I had this concept and that it really is actually working, and that people are really enjoying it. and that, you know, I'm seeing comments every day of people saying, you know, how much they enjoy the channel, how much it's helping them, how much it's motivating them to actually keep wanting to learn Japanese. So I really feel quite honored and privileged, and thank you for allowing me to help you enjoy Japanese and have fun learning Japanese, and I hope to continue to help you learn Japanese into the future, and hopefully we can manage to learn absolutely all of the JLPT with this channel. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you all for watching, and thank you for subscribing and supporting, and thank you very much everyone on Patreon for all of your support. It really is what's keeping me going. I really appreciate all of your support on Patreon, for, you know, the little support and the big support. Thank you absolutely everyone for all of your support and all of your contributions to the community. Some of you guys really go above and beyond, you know, really helping each other in the community, helping each other learn Japanese, playing Japanese together in the Discord, and kind of helping each other translate. Some of you absolute magicians like like Elro, you know, making these Anki decks, and Scissors, you know, making all of these amazing Anki decks, and people really helping each other out, and just all of the support. And for example, you know, Vroom, one of the newest executive producers, he's been with us since the very beginning, helping us, you know, grow the channel ever since the very beginning. So thank you very much, Vroom, for, you know, all of your support and everything. And anyway, thank you very much. And as always, please look forward to my upcoming content, and I hope you continue to enjoy learning Japanese through video games. See ya.